The Middle East of 2025, the collapsed infrastructure in Gaza, the fragile governance in the West Bank, the contested status of East Jerusalem, the frozen front on the Golan Heights, and the unpredictable dynamics between Israel and its neighbors is not the result of recent events alone. It is the legacy of a war that lasted only 6 days. In June 1967, Israel fought Egypt, Syria, and Jordan in a conflict so rapid and so decisive that it reshaped borders, rewired alliances, and produced political realities that still define the region nearly 60 years later. But the part most people overlook is that the Six-Day War did not end in 1967. Its consequences became permanent architecture. Every negotiation, every escalation, every diplomatic initiative of the last half-century operates within the map created during that single week. From the collapse of Gaza's infrastructure between 2023 and 2025 to the renewed diplomatic alignments of the 2020s to ongoing tensions with Syria and Lebanon, all roads lead back to June 1967. To understand the Middle East of today, you must understand the week that defined it. Gaza underwent one of the most dramatic humanitarian and administrative collapses in its modern history between 2023 and 2025. But its vulnerability did not begin then. It began in 1967 when Israel captured the Strip from Egypt and incorporated it into a new territorial reality. The narrow shape of Gaza, its dense population, and its isolation from the West Bank were all set in motion during the Six-Day War. Gaza's fragility is not accidental, it is inherited. In the West Bank, the administrative fragmentation, settlement patterns, security coordination, and legal debates that dominate 2025 all originate from the moment Israel took control of the territory in 1967. The Oslo Accords of the 1990s were built entirely on the post-1967 framework. East Jerusalem reflects that legacy even more clearly. Israel's capture and later unification of East Jerusalem created one of the world's most enduring diplomatic challenges, with struggles over sovereignty, demographics, and international recognition that continue today. Israel's continued control of the Golan Heights remains a defining element of its relationship with Syria. The plateau's military, diplomatic, and resource implications all trace back to 1967. In 2025, borders may appear stable, but they are alive with unresolved history. The peace with Egypt in 1979, normalization with Jordan in 1994, and evolving ties with Gulf states since 2020 all exist within the framework created by the Six-Day War. To understand why the war broke out, we must return to the decades that shaped the region's fragile borders. After the Arab-Israeli War of 1948, Israel's boundaries were armistice lines, temporary, porous, and strategically vulnerable. The West Bank fell under Jordanian control, Gaza was administered by Egypt, Syria controlled the Golan Heights, and Jerusalem was divided. Conflict was not paused, it was suspended. In 1956, Israel joined Britain and France against Egypt during the Suez crisis. Israel captured the Sinai Peninsula but withdrew under U.S. and Soviet pressure, leaving leaders acutely aware of their reliance on external powers. Throughout the early 1960s, Fedayeen raids from Egypt and Jordan, along with Syrian artillery fire from the Golan Heights, intensified instability. Israel responded with targeted operations that further escalated tension. Water soon became a strategic flashpoint. Israel developed its national water carrier project, while Arab states attempted to divert the Jordan River's headwaters to restrict Israeli access. In the Middle East, water is not simply a resource, it is security. Meanwhile, Egypt's President Gamal Abdel Nasser positioned himself as the leader of Arab nationalism, taking political risks that increased the chance of war. In May 1967, the crisis accelerated. Egypt expelled UN peacekeepers from Sinai, massed forces near Israel's border, and closed the Straits of Tiran, blocking Israeli shipping to Asia. For Israel, the closure of Tiran was equivalent to a declaration of war. Diplomacy was collapsing, and military action was becoming the only option. Israel's geography created extreme vulnerability. The country was narrow, surrounded by hostile states, and dependent on rapid mobilization. Israel's objectives were clear: preemptive action, destruction of enemy air forces, securing defensible borders, and avoiding a multi-front war. National leaders believed that waiting meant annihilation. Survival, not expansion, drove the decision to strike first. Nasser's Egypt sought to project leadership in the Arab world, but political signaling soon turned into military escalation. Jordan's King Hussein feared isolation and joined the conflict under pressure from Egypt and Syria. Syria, pursuing ideological influence and territorial security, stood firmly against Israel. Above all of this hovered the Cold War, with the Soviet Union supporting Egypt and Syria, and the United States increasingly aligned with Israel. Regional wars become global when superpowers watch from above. On June 5, 1967, Israel launched Operation Focus, destroying most of Egypt's air force within hours. Control of the sky determined the outcome on the ground. Israel captured the Sinai Peninsula within days, gaining strategic depth that later facilitated peace with Egypt. Gaza, seized the same week, entered a new political trajectory that would shape its future fragility. Over the decades, the Strip became one of the most densely populated and geopolitically fragile territories in the world, culminating in the severe infrastructural and administrative collapse of 2023 to 2025, a crisis structurally linked to the legacy of 1967. The capture of the West Bank and East Jerusalem established the territorial framework still debated today. The demographic, political, and legal questions of 2025 flow directly from this moment. Israel's gain of the Golan Heights provided essential military visibility and defensive advantage. High ground in war becomes political ground in peace. By the end of the conflict, Israel had tripled its territory. The Arab states suffered a political and psychological shock, and the UN issued Resolution 242 calling for withdrawal in exchange for recognition and secure borders. Yet its ambiguities sowed decades of diplomatic disputes. Looking ahead, several paths emerge. One likely trajectory is a frozen map with recurring conflict. Borders remain unchanged, tensions fluctuate, and Gaza's instability continues. A frozen map does not freeze tension, it preserves it. Another path envisions limited agreements that improve local conditions but leave core disputes unresolved. A more ambitious possibility involves a regional diplomatic breakthrough, requiring unprecedented cooperation among Israel, Egypt, Jordan, Gulf states, and global powers. Diplomacy must confront 1967, not avoid it. There is also the risk of escalation triggered by Gaza or Jerusalem. The collapse in Gaza heightens regional fragility, while Jerusalem remains a perpetual flashpoint. Tensions with Lebanon and Syria add further risk. A final scenario keeps borders the same, but reshapes alliances as states adjust their strategies around economics, security, and regional competition. The Six-Day War was short, but transformative. Its outcomes still define the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Gaza's fragility, Jerusalem's status, the strategic balance with Syria, Egypt, and Jordan's political roles, U.S. engagement, and the broader shape of the Middle East. The war ended quickly. Its effects became permanent. To understand the Middle East in 2025, its crises, negotiations, and shifting alliances, we must return to 1967 because the region's present is built not on recent history, but on 6 days that never truly ended. Thank you for watching the Atlas Report. If you enjoyed this analysis, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you don't miss our next documentary. Your support helps us continue exploring global power, strategic geography, and the forces shaping world events. We appreciate your time. See you in the next report.